Welcome to part 2 of Traveling with Astronomy. And in the first episode, we talked about the Evo Guide 50 ED, how much I loved it. And I do love it, but I did get the field flattener made by Skywatcher for this telescope. And unfortunately, it would not allow me to focus with any of my cameras. DSLR is not going to work with it. And neither my 1600 or my 26 or my 295 or 294 ZOO cameras, ZWO, did not work with it either. Could not get to focus. I couldn't even get the 120mm mini to focus with it either. So I ended up having to take it off and go back to just the standard spacer to get any type of focus. And I'm not going to lie to you, when I show you these videos, this following video, this segment, showing the use of it during the night, it has extreme coma. So anything that you photograph has to be dead center, and it can't be a wide field, the whole wide field, because the coma is just horrific with this telescope. Now, with that said, I have the Starizona. They have a flattener that allows me to bring my in focus in, and I should be able to achieve focus with my ZWO cameras. They did show some photos on their website showing that the ZOO cameras in line with this. So I'm hoping that works, because I've seen results from this and they're actually quite good. Starizona also showed some results with their field flattener, and they would look extremely well. So I'm hoping I can get that to work, because this is an exceptionally nice little telescope for what it is, and the fact that if I get a flat field and be able to capture, up to 90% of the wide field, that would be superb. So I want you to know that going into this video, because you're probably not going to like what you see. I wasn't too thrilled with it myself. I do like it. It has a lot of potential. I know it can work. I've seen results. It's just a matter of me getting to those results. So if you remember, when I first started this series, I said I would show what worked and didn't work. This will fall into the it didn't work category, but I want to share it with you anyway. So with that said, let's jump into the experience that I had that night. Okay, here we are. Got a clear sky night. Here's a setup that we just reviewed in the previous movie, or the video, where I took my EQ converted AZ GTI and the Skywatcher EV Guide 50 with the ASI 294 MC Pro. Then you have the ASI Air Plus down here. Everything's hooked up, ready to go. Everything's turned on. Now, I'm not going to go through all the setup steps. If you want to see all the setup steps for using the ASI Air Plus, then I have a previous video where I reviewed that ASI Air Plus along with setups and capturing an object. Tonight's purpose is to capture something with this with this Evo Guide 50 from Skywatcher, and we'll see how we do with that. Okay, so I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to do the polar alignment, and then I'll find an object, and we'll start watching that object come in with this particular scope. I will see you in a bit. Okay, we're back, and I just finished the PA. You can see here it says finished. Get the smiley face. Total error is 1 minute 16 seconds. Not the best, but for tonight's purposes, it'll do just fine. So we're going to hit finish. It's going to do a calculation. It says like riding motorcycle very fast. It was pretty quick tonight. Okay, I'm going to come out of PA, go to preview just to show you what I'm looking at here. Do a quick picture. Now it's not going to plate solve because I'm pointing directly at polar north, so it won't plate solve. I have to get away from that a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the mount, and I'm going to move it by this right here. And then because I'm linked, because my ASI Air Plus is linked directly to the AZ GTI, it's going to move it. So when I move that, so, oh, it looks like I went the wrong way. Got a lot of cars tonight. So I'm moving it by just touching the screen. You see it moving here. Okay. And again, that was just by touching this part of the screen here to drive it. And I'm going to slow it down. Now what we got to do is got to figure out what we want to go look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, I'm going to swing off of this, I'm going to go up here, I'm going to put my Sky Safari Pro. You guys can see that. I'm going to look at where zenith is, what's coming up, what's up there, so forth and so on. And I think what I want to do tonight with this, let's see if I can find it. Where would it be at? Here we go. I think that should be it right there. Here we go. Perseus cluster. Double cluster. That's what I want to go take a look at. And I can go to here, get the official number of it. NGC 869. So just toggle back over to here. I want to, tonight's best. I'm going to go look it up. So go into here, NGC 869, look it up, there it is, click on that, and we're going to say go to, and it's going to slow to where it thinks the target is. It's going to validate whether it's centered or not. It's going to solve. It's going to center detect. Let's shoot again. Target is centered. It's going to finish it up. It's going to show me, and there they are, centered. Now, you can tell by looking at this, I do not have a fill flattener on this scope. It turns out that the Evo fill flattener that they built for this scope does not focus with any of my cameras. It won't focus with my guide camera, it won't focus with my 294, and it won't focus with my 1600. So I'm probably going to have to go to a third party that gives me a closer in focus range and to get this thing to focus, because it simply won't do it with the current fill flattener. So essentially I have to look at and crop heavily for everything I want to do. So if there's anything big, it just simply isn't going to work. I'd like to have this whole field flat so I can get a nice view of stuff. Just not going to happen. If I go to focus, let's go to focus. 1 second. Let's see what we get here. You can see here that focus is a little bit out. Let's check this out. Let's see what we get here. So we need to reach up here and do some focusing. Get that number down. So 294, it's definitely better. 3, let's see if we can go a little bit further, see what happens. 2.35. 0.95. 1.77. Let's see what that looks like. It looks a little better. Let's get out of focus. Let's go into preview. Let's do a 1 second shot. Yep, much better. Much better. But you can see out here, I'd have to crop into this in order to make it usable. So we'll wait and see. But this is still my favorite setup, only because it's so light, it's quick to use, doesn't take a lot of finagling. My only gripe is this here, and my other gripe is that their field flattener won't work with a lot of cameras. And so I'm just going to have to look for another field flattener, which would be much cheaper than buying another camera that would probably work with this. So that's unfortunate in that aspect, but otherwise it actually does really well. I mean, 1 second single exposure, nice star field. I'm happy with it. I'm very happy with this. And like I said, it fits in one case with my other camera stuff. And with this mount, I can do DLSR or this scope. So for quick and easy setup, this is the way to go. And the fact that the ASI Air Plus or Pro will control the GTI or the AZ GTI mount wirelessly. So I'm not connected in any way to this mount. I'm working here off this tablet. There's some special setup you've got to do that. I'll go refine that documentation, and I'll put a link in the video for you to see. But that's the twin double cluster, and you know, I'm actually pretty happy with it. I'm going to pause this and see what else is out there we can take a look at. Okay, let's go to NGC 7635. That's the bubble nebula. So we're going to hit go to here. Mount's going to salute a position. We're going to center the target eventually. Okay, it says it's finished, it's centered. Let's see if we're actually there. Well, yep, there we go. It should be there in the middle somewhere. Of course, this is a very quick exposure. Let's take this up to 60 seconds. Let's do 1 60-second preview. See what we have here. I'm going to pause this and we'll see what it looks like after the fact. Okay, it's finished. It's loading up now. Let's see what we got. Yep, there we go. So 1 60 seconds gives me, there's the bubble. There's some more nebulosity there. I forget what object this is, but it's got a classification. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, go out of preview, and go to live view. And again, as before I showed you, we're going to look for these stack numbers, and as it stacks, it should get clearer and clearer. We can mess with this down here a little bit. If I do a reset, you know, this is the raw view here. And then a couple things we got to do. Where do we want to save it? We're going to go to the SD card. So we got that settled. Then we're going to go in here. We're going to do lights, 60 seconds, bin 1, and then no limit. So it'll just keep stacking until I tell it to stop. And then we take some darks, because what's going to happen is when you come out of this, and later on you go into and you look at your image management, all your live views are going to be in here. It's going to take every individual exposure and put them in here, so later you can manually stack these through a software program that you can use for post-processing. So that makes it really nice. And you know, even on the previews, if I wanted to save anything manually, just hit this button down here, and depending on what mode you're in up here, it'll save it into that file. So if, in other words, if I go back to preview, I look at this, and I hit save, it's going to say save, and I'm at my card. So now I go back to the card, I go back to management, and in my preview, there is that one photo that we took, and it automatically labels, it automatically labels what object you're looking at, because that's where it's steered to. So it does a lot of nice things for you. So we're going to go back to live stack. We're going to put this at 60 seconds. 60 seconds. We're going to be bin 1, no limit. We're going to hit OK, and then we're going to hit run and let it go. Now I'm going to pause this and then come back after it's had a few stacks. But you see what it looks like here. Let's see what it, whoops, you know, let's try this. You see what it looks like there. So let's let it do a few stacks. You see what your bubble, the bubble right there. Okay. That's the bubble right there. So we'll let it stack a few times and then we'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, we're back. And here we have 10 minutes of stacking at 60 seconds. So 10 stacks. And we'll compare to what we have now versus what we were looking at earlier. So it has cleaned it up a little bit. If I zoom in here, you can see the bubble just starting to form a little bit. You've got this down here. I forget the number of it, but it's there. My phone keeps. And you come up to here. Let's see, where is it? A little bit of nebulosity here around these double stars. Then we've got this here as well. So it's ultra wide field. And of course, I am competing with some very, very nasty light pollution to see this. But it gives you an idea. The little scope's nice. I don't like the fact that the fill flattener that they make for this does not work with very many cameras. That's kind of a negative thing. As you would see, if I wanted to keep this, I would have to do a lot of some heavy cropping on it. But for just being able to see something, you know, that's great. In a dark sky, I'm sure this thing will excel. I have not had it in a dark sky yet. I've traveled around with it in its case to different sites around town, but not into a truly dark sky just yet. And the one time I did take it with us camping, it rained the whole time we were there, so, you know, go figure. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. But to give you an idea of what I'm messing with, there's the scope and there's Mr. Streetlight, and I'm shooting directly underneath it, almost. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with the whole setup. And this, by the way, is a black construction paper wrapped around the lens to help block some of that light, stray light getting into the tube. So, but there you have it. The AZ GTI in equatorial mode, linked to the ASI Air Plus, being driven off of a tablet down here. All this fits in one case. Good to go. I hope you enjoyed this, and you'll be seeing more of my favorite setups in the future. Now that you've seen the results, you can understand why, without a fill flattener, this telescope is kind of hard to use. I mean, it really limits its full capability and potential. So I do have a new fill flattener coming from Starizona, as I was talking about, and it should allow me to achieve focus. So there's going to be a part 3 of this setup, to where hopefully we get some really good results. Stay tuned. When it gets here and I have a clear night, I will make that video as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you out there.